Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Today, we're diving into a super important explainer covering the brand new May 2026 updates to referee disciplinary frameworks. We are specifically going to break down the highly anticipated adjustments to minor referee penalty multipliers. Now, if you're involved in the sport at all, you already know just how absolutely crucial referee protection is, and well, these new updates are a real game changer for how penalties are calculated going forward. So here's our quick roadmap for today. First, the multiplier problem. 2, the tiered multiplier solution. 3, minimum penalty time changes. 4, non-physical offense tiers. 5, physical offense tiers. And finally, number 6, flexibility, not less accountability. All right, section 1, the multiplier problem. Is the current system too rigid? For a really long time now, the community has been wrestling with one core question. Is the mandatory 3 times penalty multiplier just too rigid? See, previously, any incident involving a minor referee automatically triggered a massive 3 times multiplier on the offender suspension. And look, the intention there was great. Protect young referees at all costs, right? But in actual practice, member organizations were hitting some pretty significant hurdles. And that brings us to exactly what the governing body heard from the community. The direct feedback stated that the current mandatory 3-by multiplier for incidents involving minor referees is too rigid and often produces disproportionate outcomes. Basically, when you blanket a rule completely across all offenses, you end up with these low-level, heat-of-the-moment infractions resulting in career-ending or season-ending bans that simply don't fit the crime. Plus, applying the same penalties to minor-on-minor incidents does not reflect developmental realities, and it can lead to excessive bans. This is a vital point to understand. A 15-year-old player arguing with a 16-year-old referee? That's a developmental issue. Treating that teenager with the exact same draconian penalty multiplier as a 40-year-old adult screaming at a child just didn't make any logical sense. Moving on to section 2, the tiered multiplier solution, a nuanced approach to penalties. What you're seeing here is the official May 2026 minor referee multiplier adjustments document. It's basically the source code for everything we are discussing today. The governing body took all of that community feedback about those disproportionate outcomes and minor-on-minor incidents, and they completely overhauled the framework to create something way more balanced. So the crucial pivot is this. Under the old reality, there was a mandatory 3-by multiplier for all incidents involving minor referees, the whole shebang. But under the new reality, that multiplier is completely removed from minors offending against minors. Meanwhile, for adults offending against minors, a brand new tiered multiplier has been introduced. Let's look at how the math actually breaks down now. If the offender is a minor, regardless of the offense level, that multiplier is gone. They just face the standard base penalty. But for adults, the story completely changes. If an adult commits a lower-level yellow or orange offense against a young ref, it's a 2x multiplier. But if they cross the line into the severe red categories, that strict 3x multiplier is maintained. It targets the harshest penalties exactly where they belong, adults committing severe offenses against kids. Section 3. Minimum penalty time changes. Adjusting the baseline suspensions. Now, alongside the multipliers, there are 2 major baseline adjustments to the minimum penalties themselves. First up, the level 3 red minimum time has been decreased from 6 months down to 3 months. Second, the level 1 yellow category has been decreased from 2 games down to just 1 game. Now, you might be scratching your head wondering, why lower the baseline penalties at all? Well, the governing body decreased the level 3 red minimum so that threatening physical violence doesn't have the exact same minimum time suspension as actual physical violence itself. In any justice system, the threat of a crime and the physical execution of a crime need to be tiered differently to make sense, right? Dropping the baseline from 6 to 3 months for threats restores that logical balance perfectly. And as for the level 1 yellow baseline dropping from 2 games to 1 game, that is all about administrative efficiency. If a red card is issued during the game for this specific lower-level offense, a 1-game suspension means there's no requirement for a formal hearing. It cuts the red tape, saves member organizations a ton of time, and delivers swift, proportionate justice without tying up disciplinary committees for weeks. Section 4, non-physical offense tiers. Gross misconduct, abuse, and assault. Let's see how this actually builds out in practice for those lower-tier non-physical offenses. Undermining authority carries a base of 1 game. So for a minor-on-minor, it's just 1 game. But if an adult undermines a minor ref, that 2x multiplier kicks in, jumping to 2 games. For harassment or intimidation, the base is 4 games. An adult doing this to a kid, boom, 8 games. The 2x multiplier is super clear and effective for these yellow and orange level offenses. But what happens when things get ugly? This brilliantly illustrates the real teeth of the new policy. For severe red category offenses like threatening or aggressive language, the base is 6 games. The adult on minor penalty immediately triggers that heavy 3x multiplier, jumping to a massive 18 games, or 3 to 12 months. An offensive or discriminatory act, a base of 10 games explodes into a 30-game minimum, or 1 to 2 entire years for an adult offender. So make no mistake, the protection for young referees against severe verbal abuse is absolutely still there. Section 5 Physical Offense Tiers: Gross Misconduct, Abuse, and Assault. When we cross over into physical offenses, the governing body takes absolutely 0 chances. Even minor or slight deliberate touching, which has a base of 3 games, triggers a harsh 3x multiplier when committed by an adult on a minor. That results in a 9-game minimum or up to 6 months. Pushing, grabbing, or pulling, a 10-game base becomes a 30-game minimum. That effectively wipes out an adult's entire playing or coaching season just for putting hands on a young official. And here is the absolute peak of the disciplinary framework. For severe physical offenses, hitting, punching, kicking, choking, striking, the penalty isn't even measured in games anymore. It is literally measured in months and lifetimes. Even for a minor offending against another minor, the base penalty is 12 months up to a lifetime ban. For an adult striking a minor referee, the minimum starts at an astonishing 36 months. That's 3 full years and goes all the way up to a lifetime ban from the sport. Okay, our final section. Number 6, flexibility, not less accountability. The ultimate takeaway. Look, when people hear that a penalty multiplier was removed or reduced, the immediate fear is that the sport is getting softer on referee abuse. But the official May 2026 update explicitly clarifies this, saying this adjustment introduces flexibility in minimum application, not a reduction in accountability. By removing the mandatory blanket nature of the 3x rule for minor incidents, they finally allowed the punishment to actually fit the developmental reality of the crime. And this points out perfectly how local boards maintain their power. The tables we just reviewed, those are just minimums. Member organizations absolutely may assign penalties well above these minimums. In fact, the document explicitly states they should increase penalties where the conduct warrants it. If a 17-year-old maliciously assaults a 14-year-old referee, the local board doesn't have to just give the base penalty, they are fully empowered to drop the hammer and issue a severe ban. Which leaves us with this final pivotal question for you. How will your local member organization apply these new minimums? The governing body has basically given the community exactly what they asked for: nuanced tiered multipliers and logical minimums. The tools are now firmly in the hands of the local disciplinary committees to protect minor referees with precision rather than just a blunt instrument. So consider how your community is going to use this new flexibility. Will they rise to the occasion? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.